So we're doing Mildred Englehardt's life story. So what did you do to get ready?
Oh, well, I started to try to think of my things in my life, and I tried to start when I was a kid myself, and then come up through, and as I grew older, I was trying to think of the different things that happened in my life and so forth, and that's where I am now, just trying to get things together in my mind and see if I can remember different things, you know. It's a long time back, 104 years, but I remember a lot of things that happened and took place, and it's enjoyable to do it, and I just hope that I can do it the way Gary wants it and so forth. So this is Mildred Englehardt. I was born May 22nd, 1920. I weighed 3 pounds at that time, and the doctor came every day. And the third day he said to my mom and my aunt, she will make it. So Aunt Margaret used to carry me around on a pillow because of my small size. And Mother had to buy me doll clothes because they were the only clothing that were small enough to fit me. Because then, in between there, when I thinking about going to school, before I went to school rather, I played with a boy who lived close to me. And one day he came out and he was happy and excited, and he had a pocket knife. Well, I was scared to death because he had a pocket knife. I was glad when we moved away. It was very nice going to a new home, and also I had to starting school at the new town. And as I grew up, I was only happy if I got a high A. Not only an a high A on my report card. My sister was happy if she just had enough to get her to the next grade. I was always in the house studying my lessons and practicing the piano. My sister was outside doing the cartwheels and the bend backs. So our schoolroom was made up of 2 rooms, grade 1 to 4 on the first floor, 5 to 8 on the second floor. Now the teacher on the second floor hired me to sweep the floor after school was over, and I did that for her every night after school was over. Then at the end of the 8th grade, I went to Birdsboro for my high school. The first year I went by trolley car. You had to pay, then the second year first. The second year they had buses put on, and then we went by bus the second and third year and so forth. But you had to pay your own way. There were no school buses. And it cost 2 fares to go from Seifert, is where I lived, to Birdsboro. And 1 fare if you went from Gibraltar to Birdsboro. So another student and I walked to Gibraltar every day to go paying one fare instead of two. It was depression which caused us to do that. But when high school was over, my parents could not afford college, so they sent me to McCann School of Business. I graduated and was sent for a job along with 3 other girls. And I was the girl they hired for the job. I worked for that company until my cousin's wife had a baby and had to stay in the hospital for more work to be done. They needed someone to take the baby. I decided to do it for them. The company I worked for said if I ever wanted a job, I should come back to them, which made me feel good. We had a great time with the baby. After giving her back to her parents, we decided we wanted a baby of our own that we would not have to give up. As a result, Gary was born, and we had a wonderful time with him, and he was ours. We still love him very, very much. I decided I wanted to have another baby when Gary went to kindergarten. Then I would have the morning to take care of my new baby. So Loretta was born, and we enjoyed her very much also. But one day before she was born, Gary looked up at me and he said, "Mom, you're fat." Of course, I had a big laugh at that because I knew that would soon be gone. That's where I stopped the writing.
Okay.
Now I have stuff written down that I didn't write, but I can talk about if you want me to.
Yep.
Now, by that time, of course, I was married, so you may want to know a little bit about how I knew my husband. Well, he was up north living, but his family moved to Reading. And when they did, they came down to Seifert and visited the church where I went to. So I got to meet him, and we were both kids then. But we enjoyed each other and doing things at the church. And as we grew up, well, they'd have something for the young people, and he would take me there. And that was nice. He worked as a little kid and earned money and saved it, and he bought a car when he was 16. So he had a car that he could pick me up and take me to wherever the thing was that they were having for fun for the young people. So we went out together like that, and we got to like each other. So we just continued the process of liking each other, and he just kept taking me to more things, not only church, but other things too. And of course we got to enjoy each other and just enjoy the things we did. We both liked the same things, and we just got along great, and we had a great time. But the war, of course, was on, and when when the boys graduated from high school, they were taken and put in the service. And if they left them do that, they put them where they wanted them. But if they joined the service, they could say, "I want to be here or there, and they would be put wherever they chose. So my husband that I married, he wanted to be in the Air Force. So he didn't wait till they took him. He joined he joined and told them he wanted to be in the Air Force. And they took him, of course, and put him in the Air Force. And he was working in there and doing all kinds of things. But he saw the men come down that were higher up than him, and they weren't doing a lot of work. They had the regular soldiers doing the work for them. And he decided, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going in that school, and I'm going to be an officer. And he applied, and he was accepted on every way, shape, or form. And he went to this school, and he did great. He did good in every object and every thing that they gave him to do. And of course, you couldn't get married when you were in that school. And everybody was just waiting till they were out. And at the end, when they graduated and they got their commission and everything, he told me he was the best man to more weddings in the whole world, because all the girls came up to the where they graduated, and they were, boom, married right away. And that's what they, but I did not do that. I did not want to do that in any way, shape, or form. So he got a 5-day leave to come home. And he came home on a Saturday, and then when you got papers to get married, you had to wait so many days. And he had to go back the next Saturday, so we didn't have enough days, and neither did other soldiers. So there was one in the top of the courthouse in Reading, that if you went to him, a judge, he would sign your paper so that you could get married within the time that your boyfriend was home before he went back. So he came home Saturday, he had to go back the next Saturday. So we had to go up, we got in the elevator, and it's full of men, because there's all kind of floors, and it's full of offices. And the door was closed, and some man said, "Don't worry there, the judge is lenient." So they all knew what we were going for, and that made me embarrassed. But we went up, and the judge signed our papers, and he came home Saturday, and we were married on a Wednesday. Now, we didn't get married during the day. I wanted my friends and my relatives to come, so we got married after they were through work, which was in sort of the early evening, and that's so they could all come to the wedding. And that's when we got married, on a Wednesday. He came home Saturday, we were married Wednesday. So his brother Dick said to him, when the wedding was over, "Come by my place." And we said, okay, we'll stop by. So when we went over and opened the door, here was all our friends and relatives and everybody, and they had a wedding cake, and they had to get all this stuff together in 2 days, because he came home Saturday, the wedding was Wednesday, and he was leaving Saturday. So we had a good time with our friends and our relatives, and we didn't want to go on a honeymoon for 2 days. He was away. He wanted to see his friends and his relatives. So he stayed the 2 days. Then he went back, which was up north. And I gave my 2 weeks notice to where I worked. And when I got done working, when my 2 weeks was up, the company said, "If you ever want a job, come back here." And that, of course, made me happy. But then I quit there, and my parents took me to the train station in Birdsboro, and I got on. I didn't drive because I had just gotten a car, and I didn't know how to drive too good, so I went by train. So they put me on the train, and I got on the train, and I'm on the train, sitting there, and the guy comes through and looks at your papers. He says, "Lady, you're on the wrong train." Well, here I am, a girl from a country town that never went anywhere because it was Depression and they didn't have the money to send you anywhere. So here you are on a train. What do you're just like crazy. So he said, "Just wait a minute, I'll see what I can do." So he left me, and after a while he came back. He said, "You're lucky, the train you need to be on is behind us." So he said, "I'll call him and have him stop, and I'll stop this train, and I will take you off of this train and put you on your train." And then I felt better. So the train stopped. It was no station. It's all tracks, black as anything. It was all black. And the train came up behind and stopped. We were out in a, and so he took me off of there. We walked over all these tracks back to the other train, put me on there, and my suitcase. Okay, so I'm walking through looking for a seat. There's no seats. All the soldiers that are on there, there's 2 seats together. They're laying across them both. They're sleeping. It's nighttime now. They're all asleep. There's no seat. So the guy comes through and looking for, he wakes a guy up. He says, "You gotta sit up. This lady don't have a seat." So that wasn't too swift, He had to sit up and give me a seat to go the rest of the way up north. That's where I was headed. So I got a seat, and of course by that time I was pretty shook up with all that stuff that happened. But we were going and we were going and we were going and we were going, and all of a sudden I saw a light ahead. And as I grew nearer, there's my husband. There's Lily. I'm safe. I'm safe. As long as I'm with him, I'm safe. I got off that train and I was with him. I was safe. So he took me in my suitcase to where he had a place where he was living, where I was going to live. He got for us to live. This was one Saturday. The next Saturday, well, I unpacked my suitcase that day. The next Saturday, I packed in my suitcase again because we're going to Texas. So I'm packing my suitcase. So I don't have the car because I was afraid to drive up there. We have to get the train again. So we sleep on the train going down. I never slept on a train before, but I did that night. But we went to Texas. They wanted him to take something that was 1 month. We were there 1 month in Texas because they wanted him for teaching. So we were there a month, and when that was over, they sent us to Dakotas. I don't know if it was north or south, I forget. It was one of those, and we had a home. They had places for you, for their officers. They had places where you could live. So we went to this place where we could live, and the living room had homemade furniture in it. But we paid the soldier that was there, that was leaving, we paid him for what he wanted for the furniture in that house. You couldn't take this with you, So we paid him for it, and we used the homemade furniture in the living room, which was fine. And we stayed there a year, and he started to teach. That's where he started to teach then. And he taught there for a year before we were moved to other places. So uh, that was our experience for me getting to him and all that and so forth. So let me see where I was. Oh well, then while we lived there, I should say that stuff. While we lived there, there was another side. You know, there was they were all houses where officers were living. So the one on this side, she said, "I want to know how Mildred makes fried potatoes for her husband." She didn't know how to do that. You know, you've got to be pretty darn, you know. So that was okay. Then in a couple days, the one on the other said, "It's my husband's birthday, and I don't know how to make a birthday cake. Will you make it?" I said, "Yes, I'll make it." They knew I could bake. I could cook and that. So I made her a birthday cake. Now I said, "Look, it's your husband. Don't you want to do something to this cake so that, you know," I said, "maybe you would like to put the icing on it. Make the ice." "Yes, I'll do that." But she made the icing and put on it. Then they invited us over to have birthday cake. Well, we went to cut the cake and you couldn't cut it. The icing was so darn hard. You couldn't cut through. She didn't even know how to make it. That's the way they were on both sides of me. They didn't know how to bake it often. Now I have that written down here. Oh, the birthday cake. They were, oh well, we were track and flying all planes. He flew all planes, from the smallest to the largest. The smallest planes he flew when he taught flying. That was one engine. When you taught a person to fly, you taught them on a plane that had one engine. When you went to pick stuff up or deliver stuff, you flew the plane with 4 engines. And he flew the plane, and they were the smallest to the biggest planes, and he flew them all. He was able, and that, I have that written down here. I'm over. Then he knew when church was let out down at Cypher. He knew when the people came out of church. So if he was flying for some reason that day, he'd come down when the people were coming out of church and fly over and make it go this way, waving to them, you know. And they all knew it was him because they knew he was in the service, he was flying. They all knew it was him. And he used to do that, fly over church. And not every day. Oh, then we were in the service, and he went, you know, we went here to there, we were moved a lot of times, you know, we were home some, and then when the war kind of went up, then it came up again, then he was called again, then he had to come in, and he had to do things, so many things every month, and so many things every summer, every year. And I know one year he had charge of everything that they did. They had a jumping out of the airplanes, and he had charge of that entire thing that year. I know he had charge of that, and so forth. But that one time when we were all done, we went here, there, everywhere. We were, you know, we were up in Indiana, and Dad he went in a store. I don't know if he went in to buy something, and he said, I'm looking for a house. We just drove in, and when we were told we were going to go to the next place, it didn't matter if it was 10 o'clock at night, whatever it was, we started to pack, put our stuff in the car, and go to the next place. Because the first people that got there got the best places. And so we never waited till the next morning. No. As soon as we knew it, we used to pack and go to the next, and that's what we did, and so forth. But anyway, when we were here, oh well, I was going to tell you about Indiana. We went up there, and we got there pretty early, and he went in a store. He said, I just drove in, I'm looking for a place to rent. Does anybody know of one? And this man that was there, he said, yes, he said, my wife just left me. He said, you can rent a house. The only thing I want to know is, can I come in at night and sleep and leave in the morning and go to work? And he said, the rest of the house is yours. And it was a great house, it was beautiful. I loved that house. So that was one example of what you did, what you put up with and how you got places. But we went early. I mean, we never, but anyway, when at the end, when we were done going here and there and everywhere and whatnot, now we were going to come out. But Dad was not out. He still had to go, like I told you, some in a month, and always once 2 weeks in a year. He always had to do that. Hi. The war calmed down some, and Lenny only had to be there so many days during the month and so many days during the summer. We came home and visited Mother. She told us the house next door was for sale. That was just what we needed. The same man built that house as built Mother's. In fact, he built it for his daughter. So if he made any changes, they would have been for the best. We did not even look at it. I was in it many times, and it had a good builder. We went right up to the Strawbridges, who collected the rent money for the owners, and we gave them money for a down payment to buy the house. Next, we went to Harold's furniture store in Reading and picked out furniture for one living room, dining room, and 3 bedrooms. We told them we bought a home and the people were still in it. They said they would keep the furniture until the people moved out. So our neighbors were the ones who were in the house, and we did not want to be unkind to them. As a result, they stayed in the house for 1 year. We finally made it, and we enjoyed that home very much. I had a large table at one end of the basement and another at the other end of the basement. A rug, a sofa, and chairs, and lights, a TV, and that was at the other end of the basement. And many a fun party was enjoyed down there in that basement. Now Gary had a job in Allentown, so he had a home built in Kutztown to be close to his work. When Loretta married, they rented a home the first year. The second year, they had a home built aside of Gary. They liked the area. After she had 2 children, she needed a bigger home. So they built a bigger home on the other end of the 22 acres that Minnie bought. And one Sunday, all 4 of them, Gary and Gwen, Loretta and Bob, they all came down to Seifert to visit us. And they said, "Mom and Dad, why don't you come up to Kutztown? We both live up there and we like it very much. And we have all said, we said we will think about it. We have always been close to each other, so we decided to move up to Kutztown on the 22 acres that Minnie bought. We had a home built in between Gary's home and Loretta's home. We moved up and we like it very much. Nice watching the deer walking around in your yard. And it is very nice and calm. No cars and trucks going close to your home. We were all happy to be together again. Loretta's 2 boys enjoyed coming here and doing things in the garage with their pop-up. Ben used to come up and play games with us also. I always had cookies to eat when we played games. We had a lot of fun doing that. They both enjoyed riding in the little machine that their pop-up made. Ben is a great piano and horn player. They never had a musical program at school that Ben did not have a special to play. Jason was a great drum player, and he also played specials. We all loved music very much. We spent the summer at Ocean Gate and the winter at Seifert. The kids liked to swim and enjoyed the bay and the ocean. To this day, they all still like Ocean Gate very much. I played the piano in church and enjoyed it very much. Then he taught Sunday school classes and was on the board, and he was also treasury at one time. He did all kinds of things for the church. We enjoyed working for the church. Lenny became ill and passed away. 2 months later, Loretta passed away. That was a hard year. After Gary graduated from high school, he went to Lehigh University, where he graduated with honors. I am very proud of him. He worked for Allentown Electric Company until Philadelphia Electric Company wanted him, and he went down there to work. He also went to one of the universities where he made his master's degree. Now Gary went in business for himself and has been in that business ever since. I am very proud of a wonderful son. Loretta had 2 sons during her lifetime. Jason was only 5 when Ben was born. I stayed with him when Loretta went to the hospital. The morning came and I said to Jason, "You have a new brother, and his name is Benjamin." Jason said, "Benjamin Franklin." And I was so surprised. I did not know that 5-year-old boys knew anything about Benjamin Franklin. Loretta had a good time with her boys. They all liked Ocean Gate with the water and the boats and the sand, and they still like it today. Jason likes it so much that he bought a big boat that you can live on, and he stays on it a lot. Jason has a business of his own, Code Electric. He used to help his dad in his business, but now he has his own business. He is doing very well. He comes here and he makes a big pot of chicken pot pie for me, and he puts it in small containers in the freezer. He also makes meatloaf dinners and puts them in the freezer for me. I appreciate very much all the things that he makes for me to eat. Ben and Jason got me a walk-in tub. Jason removed the old one and installed the new one. I appreciate very much, which I did appreciate very much. He also installed a toilet that the hot water washed, and I appreciate that very much. He does different kinds of things for me. Since I lost my husband, I need his help. Ben is Jason's brother, who is also in business for himself after having helped his dad when he was young. He is now in business for himself. He is married and he has 2 children, a boy, Gavin, and a girl, Delana. Gavin takes piano lessons and horn lessons. When they come to visit, he brings his piano music and his horn music, and he plays both for me when they come. They always come one time in July and one time in December. He knows I like music. He said I was the oldest grandmother in school. He asked me what was my goal. I just laughed. And then he said, "Now, Nan, your goal is 200. Then I did laugh. Then he said again, "Nan, your goal is 200. I think he wants me to be with him another 100 years. Love his heart. Diana loves her horses, and she rides, and she always comes home with ribbons. Her bedroom is getting full of ribbons. She loves her chickens also. They follow her all around the yard. She is holding them and petting them. They love each other. When she was at a college for 1 month, she had it fixed that she could see them and she could talk to them. They could hear her and she could see them and talk to them. They all have names. She makes the most beautiful pictures. You would think they were taken with a camera and not drawn. She makes me some very delicious peanut butter cookies when she was here. No help. She was in the kitchen alone. Ben has two very smart children. Ben is doing well with his electrical business. Ben's wife, Kim, is also employed and is doing very well. Kim doesn't do a lot of cooking and baking because the two children like to do it. They have a new dog, and at this time they are having lots of fun. With the new dog, they bring him along when they come to visit, so we can see him catch things in the air, which he likes to do very much. When he is at home, he keeps the chickens in a group. Ben has small cars that they drive and have fun doing it. They always send such beautiful gifts from the forest on my birthday, and I really appreciate them very much. While driving a car, I never had an issue with the police. At 90 years old, I decided to give up driving, and I gave my car to my sister. My husband was 90 also, but the doctor let him drive as long as I was with him. We always went together, and only to church, store, doctor, and medicine. We cut out all long drives. We never had any trouble. When he passed away, I gave his car to Ben, who had two small children, and we thought the car would come in handy for him and his family. When I was a child, the milkman would drive up to our home with a horse and buggy. I gave him my container and told him how much I wanted, and he gave it to me right at my home. Sometime later, they put the milk in glass bottles and delivered them to our home. The baker came with bread, donuts, cookies, right to your house. There was also a butcher who came to your home with all kinds of meat. He knew what cut of beef I wanted to make on Sundays, so he always saved that particular cut of meat for me. A man also brought a truck of fresh fish right to your door. And a person with a lot of vegetables also came right to your door. A person also brought a tin can filled with pretzels right to your door. A person came with ice cream right to our door. Those days are gone forever. Everybody enjoys coming to Ocean Gate. My sister Dorothy, husband Stuart, would come with Bonnie and Cindy. They liked the crabbing, the swimming in the bay, and also playing in the sand and playing with Gary and Loretta. Bonnie just wrote on a card telling me how much she enjoyed coming to Seifert and Ocean Gate. Mother and Dad would come to Ocean Gate and stay with me, and they enjoyed it very much. They liked to eat the crab meat and the bluefish. And we all enjoyed eating these things. We bought a home at Ocean Gate that was already built. Then we had a one-floor home built on the water. When our children married and Loretta had 2 children, we had another home built with 2 floors. Needed more room for more people. When Loretta was little, she asked me to dye her hair, and I said yes, and we did it. And I combed her, and when we were finished, she started to cry. I said, what's wrong? She said, I wanted it to be blonde. She was too little to know. She had to tell me that. I didn't know she wanted it blonde. I made it the same color as what her hair was. She wasn't happy with that. After Gary was born and he was walking, he had a toy that he pushed around our house on the floor. And Dad was sent to Massachusetts. And Dad, I told him I wouldn't take Gary to some of the places that we had to stay. And Dad bought a trailer. Brand new, had kitchen, living room, bedroom, bathroom, and he was sent to Massachusetts. And we took the trailer to Massachusetts, and Gary would take his toy and push it up against the walls. Our home was big, and the trailer was small. I think Gary was trying to push the walls out to make it bigger. More room to play. When Gary and Loretta were in high school age, they wanted a dog. And I said, okay. So they went and they picked out one out and brought him home. So we were looking at him and he was looking at us. Everything was very quiet. Then Annie came, and she started to play with the dog, and he started to bark. Well, the kids said, Annie taught the dog how to bark. That was a funny one. I was afraid of him, and when I went out in the yard to hang up the wash, he would come out. I would quick hand him a clothespin, and then he'd chew on it. After I was not afraid anymore, I did not hand him a clothespin anymore. He would go to my clothespins, pick one out, and chew on it. I guess he thought, this is what she wants me to do. Bless his heart. He did not know that I was afraid of him, but he was a good dog. Both of my children did real good in school. I was very proud of them. I had problems with my nose bleeding since I was a little girl. When that would happen, I would go into Mother, and there was no electric, so she put on a metal key on the ice and then put it on my back. When I got older, I went to the doctor for it, and sometimes he packed it. And one day I went into him and I was standing right at the counter to pay, and the blood started to drop on the counter. They immediately took me back to the doctor. I have had this all my life. In fact, I still have it. Mother and Dad never had it, and I do not know where I get it from. But he did two things. He packed it, and he also put, I thought I wrote that down. He put something on it at times also. Oh, sometimes he cauterized it, and then other times he packed it. You know, he did both of those things. Ben has two children, and it's Gavin, a boy who plays the piano, very nice. He's following his dad's footsteps, and I'm very happy for that. His dad plays the piano very good, and Ben is following him. And he also plays the horn, which his dad did also. So he is doing very good in that area. And Delana is a daughter, and she is just wonderful in so many things. In whatever she does, she just takes a piece of paper, which is plain white, and she'll draw something, and then she'll paint it, and you would declare it was taken a picture of, not drawn by somebody. I mean, she just is out of this world when it comes to doing that. It's so nice. And I try to get them framed, and because she gives them to me if she does them here. And Gary framed the last one she did, and I'm so proud of it and so happy that he did that. And she just is great when it comes to doing that sort. She's great with the arts. And she also rides horses. And when she rides horses, she comes home with 2 and 3 ribbons. And I told her bedroom's probably full of ribbons, which she agreed. And she also loves her chickens in the yard. She's got a name for each one of them, and she talks to them. And when she was away at a school for a month, at an art school, she had it fixed that she could see them every day. And she also would talk to them. They could hear her, and they knew it was her. So she loves the art. So she's just wonderful in that area. They're both very good. They're very talented. Vinny and I were very happy together from the time we started to go together when we were in high school until he passed away at age 92. We never fought. If we disagreed, we sat down and we discussed the situation. And we both went with whatever we decided was best for the situation. I went to my doctor, and he gave me some medication for swollen legs, and also an appointment to see him again. When I went the next time, he looked at my legs and said, "I am going to call the ambulance and send you to the hospital." He did just that. They received me and examined me in all ways. They said, "It is your heart." I was 103, and no one ever told me my heart was bad. they put me in a room in the hospital. After being there for a while, they sent me home. I was only home for a short time, and they took me back to the hospital. I stayed there longer this time. When they sent me home, they said that I must stay in bed all the time, which I did. After a certain length of time, they said I could go to the bathroom, which made me happy. After another length of time, they said I could go to the table, which also made me happy. I am doing everything they tell me to do. I am also trying to get stronger so I can do more things. I am now 104 years old, and I am slowly feeling better. God has been good to me.